The following order is made. The applicant is granted leave to appeal directly to this court. It is declared that Mr. Zuma was convicted of an offence and sentenced to more than 12-month imprisonment for purposes of Section 47(1)(e) of the Constitution and is accordingly not eligible to be a member of and not qualified to stand for election to the National Assembly until 5 years have elapsed since the completion of his sentence. The order of the Electoral Court is set aside and replaced with the following, and I quote, "The appeal is dismissed," close quotes. The counter application is dismissed. There is no order as to cost in this court.
Well, Kani Mpanga joins me in studio to break down what this all means. Very good morning, afternoon to you. Yes. So the Constitutional Court upheld the IEC's objection or decision. What does this now mean?
Well, all this means, Nompo, is that the former president, for at least these elections, is not eligible to stand to go to the National Assembly. So it means that his name cannot remain on that MK party candidate list. And the IEC is almost vindicated because, remember, in the hearing, they had listed their concerns with allowing a candidate who's not eligible to stand in these elections. And if that was allowed, how that could produce an election that is now subject to disputes and then affects the credibility of the elections. So it's important that the Constitutional Court has clarified Section 47, subsection 1E of the Constitution, especially in this rare circumstance which the former president was placed in, and that he was convicted and sentenced in the Constitutional Court, and by design, that meant that that decision was final and binding.
Yeah. So we're less than 2 weeks away from voting day. What are the implications for MK then?
Well, I think if we're honest about the assessment of the MK party, you may remember when the party was first registered, there was little talk about it until the 16th of December announcement by the former president, in which he threw his weight behind that political party. Now, we cannot ignore the weight or the support or what that has done to the MK party leading up to the May polls and how much support it has garnered through the endorsement of this towering political figure, if we could put it this way, because this is the former president of the ANC, now endorsing another political party 30 years into democracy, where the nation is so despondent that they are looking for alternatives ahead of those May polls. So it's done quite a bit for the MK party. We've done quite a bit of talking about this political party, and I think with his face still on that ballot representing the MK party, it's difficult to tell whether the voter may approach it in a manner where they're aware of the fact, rather, that he's a candidate that cannot go to the National Assembly and realize some of those goals, because that's really where you do all the work as political parties, or if his face on the ballot is going to be enough for some of those supporters. It remains to be seen when they head to the May polls.
Yeah. But I guess this is a speculative kind of discussion, but would it have been practical for the former president to have given up all his presidential package rights that he gets for having served as the president of the state by becoming an MP? I mean, it's a moot point because now he can't in this particular instance, but would he have given that up, do you think?
Well, it would have been up to him to outline that, but he did defend his disqualification, meaning that he wanted to stand as a candidate for public office, but he could have served as a volunteer and not have had to relinquish those benefits, those quite nice benefits that one gets when they are the former president of a country, if the MK party was successful in the elections, and that was the case. However, we know now that for at least these elections, because he was only sentenced and convicted in 2021, so he has to, you complete the sentence imposed, even though we know he was released early.
Yes.
That's irrelevant for the purposes of Section 47. And then the disqualification only ends 5 years after that sentence is completed. So we know for these elections, we're not looking at the former president as a candidate. We'll see in the future elections if that changes. However, the MK party will still be contesting the elections. It's just that the former president, as its leader, cannot go to the National Assembly. So they'll still be on that ballot, and the former president's face will still be on that ballot. This was just an exercise, a constitutional exercise of clarifying Section 47, subsection 1E, when you have a rare instance such as this, where somebody is convicted and sentenced in a constitutional court, and then you have an executive decision taking place where someone uses their powers, or rather the president, let's put it that way, uses their powers in terms of the Constitution to grant a special remission of sentence, and what that has an effect on with respect to that particular candidate. So it not only informs this election, but future elections to come should the country be confronted with a question of this nature again in the future.
Very briefly, because they're talking in my ear, a couple of points. MK Party, provisionally, what have you heard in terms of their reaction? And the second part, again, moot, because you haven't spoken to them. The ANC must be cheering at the rafters at this stage, because for them, I guess, President Zuma, or the former president, was a little bit of a problem in terms of him representing or being at the head of MK, and now it's really just notional. He's not really going to be there.
Well, we haven't gotten the ANC response, official response yet to the Constitutional Court order, but these are orders that should be respected. It is the highest court order in the land. And just hearing the MK Party supporters that were present in the hearing today, or the judgments delivering of that, I did hear one of the members stating that while they are disappointed, it doesn't make that much of a significant difference, as his face will still be on the ballot. And this speaks to this assertion, or this idea rather, that I was speaking to you about earlier, about what the former president's influence is, and how the face of the former president still on that ballot for the MK Party can have, or the impact that it can have for the MK Party when they head to the May polls. So it's not all loss. We have to see in the elections if it does actually have an effect, if supporters approach it with the idea that he's not going to the National Assembly, or if his face being on the ballot is enough.
Excellent. Our excellent legal eagle, Kani Mapanga, just giving us the lowdown on that Constitutional Court decision.